Hello, good evening, everyone. We are back with one more virtual walk of Intact, and this time it's all about food. So, before going to our virtual walk and our speaker today, let me first introduce Intact to those who are new to Intact or those who haven't heard about Intact anytime. So, Intact stands for Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. It was founded in 1984 in New Delhi with a vision to spearhead heritage awareness, conservation in India. Today, Intact is recognized as one of the largest organizations with almost 190 chapters across the country in last 31 years. We have pioneered in conservation and preservation of not just natural heritage and built heritage, but intangible heritage as well. We have a headquarter in Delhi and a chapter in Pune. So, Intact Pune's chapter was one of the oldest chapter, which began in 1986, and following all the aims and objectives of the organization, we are doing good amount of work in Pune. So, with this brief introduction, I would like to introduce you to our speaker, Jayesh Paranspe, as well as I would like to introduce Madhur Barve, who is heading one of our events, which is known as Discover Pune. So I'd like to invite Madhur, who would give you a brief about an event which is going to happen soon, known as Discover Pune, and which is happening for last 16 years. So, Madhur, can you join us?
Hi, Saurabh.
Hi. Yes. Can you just give us a brief about the event which is going to happen?
Yeah. Hi, all. As Saurabh mentioned, Discover Pune is one of the flagship events of Intact Pune chapter, and we have been conducting this event for last 16 years. This is the 17th year in a row of this event. This is basically a citywide treasure hunt competition. But here, instead of just chits, as we used to search them in our college days, we search for actual heritage locations in the core Pune city. So you can participate in this event as a team. Just form a team of 3 and 4, and you can participate. To participate, you just need to visit www.discoverpune.co.in. That is discoverpune.co.in, and just fill up a registration form, and you can participate in this event. It is an absolutely thrill ride. You get a variety of clues, and you need to find various heritage locations, and there are lots of other things involved as well. The event is happening on 7th of March, that is next Sunday. So those who are watching, do participate. Do ask your friends and family members to participate in the event. It's a very unique event and happens once a year, and only Intact is the only organization that organizes such event. Thanks, Saurabh. Now we think we can go back to our main menu on the card.
Yes.
Saurabh, can you hear me? Saurabh, I can't hear you.
Saurabh, I think you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Can you switch on your video? I'll just go live. Yes. Okay. So to give you a brief introduction about Jayesh, he is founder of Western Routes, a Pune-based travel company which curates itineraries across India, themed around food, culture, history, nature, and wildlife. With a keen interest in food history of Pune, he also curates and organizes food and heritage walks in the city. He is a true Punekar at heart, if you see. After completing degrees in environmental science and responsible tourism management, He has worked and traveled extensively in India and abroad, exploring unique destinations, their culture, and most importantly, their local food. Since 2018, he has been writing reviews for various city restaurants in Pune for Pune Times. Rustic and local flavors is what excites and inspires Jayesh while on his travel and food explorations. So, with this short introduction, I would like to hand it over to Jayesh so that he'll take us across the culture of Pune and specifically food. Right as to say, Udara Bharana Nohe Janize Yajna Karma. That's how we have titled it. Over to you, Jayesh. Jayesh, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. It's great actually to be on the live with Intact. In fact, when I started my organization, the Western Roots, I think Intact, so everybody who's done anything with, sort of heritage, food heritage hoga ya fir, any other sort of heritage, I think Intact has always been, there's some association with Intact. Everybody always has that. So yeah, so like my journey also started with Intact, and since the many years I've been a member now, and I've been involved in a few events, and it's always had been great fun with the Pune chapter team. And I'll quickly, what I'll do is we'll share the screen, and then I will start with, so today there's going to be a lot of food photos. So people who've not had dinner, it's going to be a big torture for them. So let's do one thing. We'll start with the presentation, and I'll be talking about the food culture. More than the food culture, how it really started in terms of, restaurants, eating out, how historically it started, and how it has evolved and where we are at today. Saurabh, can you share the screen?
Yes, I'll share the screen. And if any of our participants want to write or ask any questions, they can put them in the chat box. We'll try to answer them if time permits at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So, so like I said, Pune has been an excellent sort of city where where food is concerned. And in fact, when I came back after a long 6-7 years outside Pune after college, I realized that there are no food walks as such happening in the city. And that's how I started sort of exploring the city, the old, iconic restaurants in the city. Obviously, as kids, my father and my mother both are extremely good foodies, and eating out has been in my family's culture for a long time. So since we were kids, we've been going to our, holy grails for Vaishali, Marjorin, Burger King, these type of places which have been with, a part of my childhood particularly, and my father's childhood or my mother's childhood as well. So we've been sort of exploring the city for a long time. But I sort of wanted to do a heritage food walk, which talks about the city's culinary heritage. So I sort of started searching, and it turned out that one of my sort of favorite restaurants in the city is probably one of the oldest in the city. So I think our story also starts with Dorabji and Sons, which was, I think, set up in 1878. So it's as old as 1878, and it's been around since then. And but before that, not a lot of people know this, but obviously there were restaurants or tea shops or snack joints which were there, which there's not a lot of study done on that. But if you see, there are some references which you will get at El Moreto's, which was there during the British era. So obviously, when the British set up the Chowni or the cantonment area in the city, they needed a recreational or a sort of a eating out joint. And exactly, people are not sure when El Moreto's started, but the name sounds Spanish, but actually it was an Italian restaurant. And some people do say that there was a ballroom and a cabaret which used to happen at El Moreto. So it was technically a sort of a restaurant come an area where people had used to dance, ball dance, and funnily enough, there were no Indians allowed at this joint. So Sorabji Dorabji found that extremely as a sort of a business thing for him, and he decided to open up Dorabji and Sons. Obviously, it was not called Dorabji and Sons then. It was actually a small chai and bun maska, some bakery items, and some tea used to be served. And then later on, it evolved into what it is today, Dorabji and Sons, with extremely hearty meals. So when they started Dorabji and Sons, they didn't know to anything else than the typical Parsi food which they would make, and Irani Parsi food. And that's how since then, today, the owner Darius, he also in fact cooks all his food on firewood. And so since then, the menu has changed obviously a little bit, but the ethos, or the sort of crux of it has always been hearty food, delicious food which you would generally make in a Parsi home or an Irani home. So that's how actually Dorabji and Sons really started. And then later on, the food journey technically continues with a lot of Irani cafes and bakeries, particularly in the cantonment area, which came up after that. One obviously was Royal Bakery on Main Street, just at Mohammad Rafi Chowk at the end of Main Street. So Royal Bakery and Confectionery. So it's very funny that so that picture which has been taken of Royal has been taken from outside, because the owner didn't let me take a picture from inside, because it's an unwritten rule that photos are not allowed inside, started by his great-grandfather. So yeah, so like I said, Royal Bakery has been around since then. Dorabji and Sons, like I talked about, has been around then. Hussaini Bakery is there. So now when people say any bakery, anything, so people directly come to say Kayani, which is actually very popular and it's extremely delicious, no doubt about it. But there have been sort of restaurants which have been older than Kayani, basically. So you have Khodiar Bakery in front of Yazdan, and you have Royal, you've got Imperial Bakery, you've got Hussaini. All of these places have been in operations much before the more popular bakeries in the city. Coming back to Dorabji, so I think Dorabji, early on, Dorabji was particularly technically the only place in the cantonment region which was allowed, where Indians were also allowed along with the British officers to be served. So that was the time, and that was a time when, in fact, Ardeshirs, which in fact a lot of people don't know much about, is an Indian or a Pune homegrown cola brand, which serves these amazing raspberry coolers and ice cream sodas and all of that. And they've been making this since 1884. And they still have their bottling unit just at Sachapi Street, Sarbatwala Chowk. And they've been, in fact, the founder of Ardeshirs, his son started another brand out of a small fight with his father, and that brand actually was more popular than Ardeshirs, but Ardeshirs is more older than Frams, which the name comes from his son's name called Framrose, and that's how the Frams cola also started, Frams soda started. And over the years, Frams has shut down now, and Ardeshirs is still growing strong. Their sort of vendors or their customer base includes people who come to Dorabji, Yazdan, all these cafes, all these Irani cafes, all these Parsi joints in the cantonment area. Now also in Ardeshirs is available in Irani Cafe and a few other new Irani cafes as well. So yeah, coming back to the history of it, again, 1884 and 1878, and still going strong, basically. Then I spoke about Royal Bakery, again, started in the early 1900s. Again, family moved away from Yazd in Iran to escape two things: one, a drought, or religious persecution in Iran, and then they came to Bombay and then eventually landed up in Pune and saw an opportunity to start something so this has been a story for a lot of Iranian families who came to Pune and to Mumbai, particularly why to Pune because of the weather, and also the Chhaoni or the cantonment region was here, so the British population was here, concentrated around Pune. So that is a time when a lot of people came from Iran to the city. That's why you get a lot of Irani places, Irani cafes. So Royal Bakery also has a similar sort of story. Again, two of their great creations is one is the wine biscuits, the other is the cupcakes. And then you also have something called as the Milkovita bread, because everything, so they don't use water to make the dough, they use only milk to make the dough. So it's a milk bread and it's actually very delicious. So if anybody has never tried this, do go and try it at Royal Bakery. But you'll have to look for the timings. They are open at a very weird time in the mornings and in the afternoons only. So coming to a more popular sort of Irani cafe, again, Good Luck is not very old, but again, started in 1935. Then another bakery which I personally love is the Hussaini Bakery. Mr. Irani, Dr. Meherbakan Irani, he is actually the current owner, and the bakery was started when he was 6 years old. In fact, he's there on the left photo. He's there in one as a kid in that photo, and that bakery is also, everything is made using a wood-fired oven. So they still do the bruns, they still do the Afghani naans, they still do their breads, all of that. Everything is made in two of their larger wood-fired ovens, and it's a joy to just sort of go to Hussaini Bakery, because uncle will graciously greet you and let you inside to see the bakery. Everything is actually quite clean inside, and then you can taste whatever is being made. So in fact, on our cantonment walk, that's one of the highlights of our food walks which we do, that Dr. Irani actually gets us inside, shows how the dough is kneaded, how the furnace is dealt with, where so generally, because there's no temperature control, it needs to be kept at a certain location. If it's a bread, it needs to be kept somewhere else. If it's a custard, it needs to be kept somewhere else. So everything is cooked together in that one furnace, but the temperature variation, and only that the operator of the furnace knows this. So these are the type of things which are still, very much happening in the city, and they've been happening in the city for so long. So I think coming back to how it started, the food culture in Pune, I mean, I would like to then now move on to from restaurants. I'd like to move on to these specific food things which we actually associate Pune with. So I would like to start with everybody's controversial topic, misal. We call it misal. We don't call it misal pav, because Punekars serve misal with bread and not pav. So we don't call it misal pav. We call it misal only. So a Puneri misal is so technically, if you see a Puneri misal or a Kolhapuri misal or a Nashik misal or any other misal in the city, in the state, everybody has their debates. Everybody has Hi Changli, Kolhapuri misal, manje original misal, all of that. But I think each and every region, the whole beauty of misal is that it can do any variations depending on the location or the region in the state, and it still tastes extremely good. So you'll have a spicy Kolhapuri misal, or you'll have a typical roadside Bombay misal, or you'll have a specific Nashik misal which uses Goda masala. You'll have a Puneri misal which also uses a little bit of Goda masala, and also in some cases they use coconut as well. And then in the mixture they'll use pohe, batata, and those type of things. So that is technically decided on what was available or what was common in that particular region or that particular people's homes. So that is how the misal has sort of evolved over the period of time. So going back to the origin of misal, Vaidya Upahar Griha in the city area near Fadke Haud in Kasba Pet in Shukrawar Pet, but so that is technically the first misal which you have. They started serving in 1910, and it's very interesting to know that. So this area where Vaidya Upahar Griha has a lot of businessmen, business traders during those times, and there you used to get a lot of tangewalas who would drop people out to their respective shops, and these tangewalas would come to Vaidya Upahar Griha as a morning or a brunch sort of a thing around 10:30, 11 with their own bhakris, and then Vaidya Upahar Griha used to serve something called as a misal, which used to be a mixture of a few ingredients, which is patal pohacha chiwda, batatachi bhaji, a little bit of pohe, and obviously then you have the raw onions and all, and then you have the sample or the tarri or the cut. So that also differs from where you are. So in Pune, it's called sample. So that is also used to be. So the very interesting part about Vaidya Upahar Griha is that the sample is actually green in color. So it's made using fresh green chilies and not a red chili powder. So it's very mild. It's very extremely tasty. Again, please, if you have not tried it, just for the sake of that heritage, piece of heritage, which is still alive in the city, you must go and try this. So, in fact, the bread along with the misal at Vaidya or any other misal joints came in much later. Initially, it used to be so. If you'd go there, they would serve it with puri and a little bit of dahi. And people used to get their own bhakris or chapatis also, and then they used to eat the misal with that. So this was technically the origin of misal. So the pav and bread debate actually is almost doesn't make sense, because pav came in much later, bread came in before that, and then before that also bread came in much later in terms of the misal. So obviously we are talking about the old city, and bread was not available very freely because there was a sort of a taboo for baked items, because they bakeries used to be owned by either Muslims or Christians. So people were not very commonly, bread was not available till probably around the 50s or late 40s. After independence, it was more common that bread started becoming more and more available towards this side of town. Obviously towards the cantonment side it was, but then misal was not there. So bread was already there, but then bread coming into the old city was much later. So the bread, the sliced bread is always served in Pune with the misal and not the pav. So another sort of interesting place is in Pune for misal is Shri Krishna Bhuvan inside Tulsi Bagh, and it's also one of the most palatable misals which we've eaten. And in fact, whenever we have any expats or foreign clients, I think this is the most loved misal in the city for a lot of people, because it's not extremely spicy, but at the same time, it does have a little bit of that kick to it. So Pune is obviously, we've covered the Irani bakeries, we've covered the Irani cafes, we've covered bakeries, we've covered misal. Pune is also known as for the Amrutulya tea, which actually has become more and more popular in the past, I think, 5 years, because of Yeule going out proactively and starting a lot of branches across Maharashtra, in fact, across the country as well. And then you've got a lot of these other smaller Amrutulyas like Premacha Chaha, which has come in. And then you have a lot of these old Amrutulyas, which have been around since the 50s, 60s, earlier than that. And I think the oldest one, which is on record right now, is the Adya Amrutulya on Lakshmi Road. a little beyond City Post. And so that is actually one of the oldest Amrut Tulyas. They have done the place up very well. And it's very interesting. The Nartekar family actually hails from Rajasthan, and they came to Pune and then they opened a sweet shop. And they also used to have a shop at Rameshwar Chowk, where they used to sell authorized bhang basically to the locals and to the British officers as well. And this was a time when towards when bhang started becoming a little more of a taboo issue in the country, they closed down their bhang shop and also closed down their sweet shop and started something called as Adya. Adya means a beginning of something new. So Adya Amrut Tulya was started. Now, Amrut Tulya, very interestingly, Mr. Nartekar, who's at the counter, and the person who's his brother who makes the tea every time, when I had met him, he interestingly told that people think that Amrut Tulya Chaha is a boiled tea. So, it's boiled and boiled for a long time. That's why you get the thickness. So technically, it's not that. So he compares the tea as, because it's called Amrut Tulya. So it is as comparable to Amrut. So if you keep on churning the tea or you keep on churning the samudra, then the vish comes out. That's why it is never to be boiled for more than a certain period of time. So they always make their tea fresh. So if you order for one chai, they will make a fresh tea for you every time, because they feel that it has to be as fresh as Amrut. So it has to be Amrut Tulya Chaha. Coming back to the Amrut Tulya tea, I think it has become popular now over the period of years, and it's an amazing thing that Yaule and the other people have done. Now every nook and corner you'll have an Amrut Tulya which serves these elaichi, ginger and milk based tea, which I think is an excellent. It's actually an association which I would generally associate Pune with. So apart from Misal and the Irani bakeries, I also associate Pune always with that Amrut Tulya Chaha. Another drink which, coming back to drinks again, so another drink which a lot of people like to associate Pune with is the Mastani. Obviously, there is no reference to why it is called Mastani. So the story is basically, it's very simple. It is so if you go to a place called Cold Drink House in Budwarpet, it's called Cold Drink House, run by the Gujar family. They've been running this place since 1923. Homemade ice creams, homemade mastani, everything is made in-house. Ice cream, syrups, everything is made in-house. And so they tell, so if you go to that, so if you go to that restaurant, you will see that the Mastani is not, used to be not called Mastani before. It used to be called ice cream cold drink. So it used to be, and so how they make the ice cream cold drink, or in today's lingo, Mastani, is that they put syrup, which is made fresh at the place itself. They make the syrup, they put the syrup, they put an ice cream, and then they put a little watered down cold milk, and then they sort of use the spoon to mix it rigorously, and that's how that Mastani is made. So this was the original recipe of Mastani. It's a little watery, and so that's why it's called ice cream cold drink. So this is the origin of Mastani. Mastani as a name came in later in the 60s, I think late 60s, when Mama Kondalkar started an ice cream shop. Initially started something else and then eventually turned to ice cream, because ice cream till then was a very seasonal business. Only during the summer months it used to be operational. So you have places like Cold Drink House, Ganu Shinde on Lakshmi Road. They were serving ice cream, but only, and Kaure also, only for a short period of time for the summer months. So what Kondalkar family did was they changed the recipe a little bit. They made the mango as a milkshake, and then they started serving with the mango ice cream. So that's how the name, in fact, Mastani comes from there. It used to be, so the name actually is associated with Bajirao's second wife, Mastani. but it comes from like very good, or masta in Marathi, which means awesome or very good. So the name actually comes from there, but there is no historical evidence of how that name has come into being. But it used to be called ice cream cold drink or doodh cold drink before. And later on, obviously, Sujata made it popular, and now Sujata is across the state. Everywhere they have quite a few outlets. And personally, I love both. I mean, they have changed the recipe from the original, but it is equally good as the original cold drink house Mastani, which you get as ice cream cold drink. Again, another place you should check out is the cold drink house, which is very interesting. They do a lot of other things, which is so one of their most interesting bit, apart from the Mastani or the doodh cold drink or ice cream cold drink, is the dahi ice cream which they make, which tastes like a cross between a frozen yogurt and a Shrikhanda. So, and they've been making this since the 1930s, and now we've woken up to froyo and frozen yogurt, and they've been making this since the 30s. So it's an interesting sort of place to go to. Beautiful old paintings painted on mirrors, and so you can see the Amrut Kokam ad which is there, which is painted on mirror, and even the lady's portrait is painted on a mirror. So very interesting place to go to, and definitely the Mastani is much different than the Sujata Mastani which we are more accustomed to. So coming back to something snacky, I think everybody is been to or gone to Garden Vada Pav. I think Garden Vada Pav is one of the most city's oldest Vada Pav cart, and it's started in the 70s when Vada also. So Vada has been in Maharashtrian kitchens for a long time. We've been making batatache vade since a long time. So in fact, if you come to batatache vade only without the pav to be savored as a vada with very less spice and no tempering inside the filling, I think Prabha Vishranti Gruha on opposite Kesari Vada is something which one must definitely try. But I think that is more of a place where it's more popular in Maharashtrian houses, and then that changed in Bombay, where they started serving in outside Dadar station, and that's where the Vada Pav became popular in Bombay first, and then came to Pune as a cart. The family name is Kashinath Naiku. He started the cart, and he used to be just a cart before, and now they have bought a small shop in Nalstop, and they have also another shop. So his success story is actually one of the really you always hear about a cart vendor or a cart seller in Pune becoming so popular. You've got stories like this very often in the city, where you have a cart owner going on to becoming a really big thing in the city's food scene. So I think the Garden Vada Pav is one such place, definitely a great example of that. Again, a very good example of a really good Vada Pav. They also have a shop at Nalstop now, but their cart one is actually tastes the best. So I've been talking about these places, which not just the places but the foods which have sort of developed the Pune's food scenes over the years, and this I'm talking about of much before, but there are some restaurants which have been around since the 30s, 40s, who've been serving food snacks, Maharashtrian snacks since then, Puneri snacks since then. And I think one of the places which our parents also grew up eating at was Janaseva on Lakshmi Road, which is unfortunately now shut down. But that place was a sweet shop, and a dairy, and also some lot of beautiful snacks used to get there. Then you always have a place like Hotel Abhijat, which is called Sweet Home on Kumtekar Road. Then you have Pune Guest House, which has been in operation since the 30s again. The Sarpodar family has been you know, in fact, they're one of the people who have maintained their business over the years, and their next generation has actually grown their business. So their current owner, Mr. Kishore Sarpotdar, and his son Sanat, they also have a small kiosk at the Pavilion Mall now, where they serve Maharashtrian food. So that's actually one of the success stories in the city about Maharashtrian food. And then you have, you have stuff like Dadpe Pohe, Dahi Pohe, Thali Peet, Puran Poli, stuff which you get at Pune Guest House. Then coming back to another place which I would like to, sort of focus on is Chitale Bandhu, which is again shaped up Pune's culinary's journey, so to say, into what it is today. I think whenever we go outside the city, wherever in other states, the only two things people associate Pune with are Dagdushet Ganpati Mandir and Bakarwadi. So this has been Chitale's success, I feel. And there again, another business whose next generation has taken the business to another level. So Indranil Chitale and his family, they have taken the business and they've made the business into a truly global business now, and they ship their products across the world now over there. So that's been an excellent sort of success story in terms of when you think of Pune's food stories, basically. And then you have, like I said, I just spoke about Chitale, but then you have a lot of other places which you would see. I mean, no talk about, so particularly in my family, no talk about food is complete, Puneri food is complete without Vaishali. So there could be debate that it is not South Indian food, but for a lot of families, it's a nostalgia. You've got associated with the. So in fact, two of their waiters, Lingu and Vasu, they were like family to us when we were growing up, and they knew us with their name. We knew their family, and so this type of connections you'll find with Vaishali and Rupali, and a lot of other places in the city. Then you have Quality, which is on East Street, which was the first air-conditioned restaurant in the city. Then you have Touche the Sizzler, the place, which is actually a sort of an invention of the family who tried a lot of their businesses outside and then eventually came and settled in Pune and then started something called a Sizzler, which was an unheard of term in the country then in the 70s. And then you have Marzorin, obviously. Then you have a place like Burger King. Imagine children or college students from this side of town never heard what beef is, never heard what beef tastes like. And then you have a place like Burger King, now called as Burger, but they used to serve their King Burger, Burger King ka King Burger used to be like the sort of taboo place to go to and eat the beef burger at. So these were the things which have actually shaped up Pune's, culinary history. So I would also like to say, so this is actually Thousand Oaks, which is also one of, a lot of people will associate that with nostalgia, with college nostalgia, one of the few places in the city where you could just hang out over a few drinks and great music and excellent food as well. Then you have a place like George, which is famous for, its biryanis. So I think what I want to get at is basically Pune has been a culinary sort of city or a food city since, it's, since the time of El Moretos or Dorabji and Sons. And you've got places in Pune which you'll never, find anywhere else. And they do successful business over the period of time. I mean, for one of my other projects, I was trying to list down places of iconic restaurants which were not iconic, not in terms of the heritage, but iconic in terms of how popular they are or what they sell and the amount of variety we have in those years. So I think we narrowed it down to some 90 or 95 places in the city, which we can be easily deemed as iconic in terms of what they serve and in terms of how many years they have been in successful business. So actually, these are the people who have sort of paved the way for going forward, they've paved the way for a lot of new restaurants, which I would like to talk about. Like, in Pune, you have a lot of restaurants which otherwise will never, you'd not think of as well. I mean, one prime example is Let's Bati. I mean, a place which serves, a delivery restaurant which serves variants of the dal bati and the bati, and along with that. So in fact, there's another restaurant called V Idli Wale as well, which serves idli along with different types of curries. Then you have Sorted, which is a completely healthy Sante restaurant, which is vegetarian and extremely healthy. Then you have Ground Up, which is a beautiful place, an ingredient forward. It's a new term, but it's called ingredient forward, where the ingredient is the hero and there is no specific cuisine, but whatever is fresh available in the market, the menu decides itself. The menu is decided on that. Then you have something called as Boteco, which is a Brazilian place. Then you have Ba place, Savyarasa, Yeti and the Monk, a Tibetan place. Kashmiri cuisine, there's Chinar, there's Kosher Pakwan. So all of these restaurants today, if you think of, you'll have so many of these restaurants, Japanese restaurants, you have Korean restaurants, you have a Vietnamese restaurant. So all of these restaurants which have made, sort of shaped the city's culinary map, basically. So this is what, and this list is endless. I mean, I was just limited with only a few slides here, but then I can talk about this list endless. There's another thing which is there on the map is also Pagdandi, which is a book cafe. You can go there, read a book, order whatever you want, and you can spend the whole day at the cafe. And these type of cafes are also very popular in Pune. There's Wari, and then quite a few coming up as well. And so yeah, coming back to from where we started and where we are, I think Pune, and if you see the other thing with the other side of Pune, which is the food community in the city, is also so big. So you have not just the food bloggers, but then you have places like, you have forums like Pune Eat Outs, which is doing excellent work in terms of, getting people to know their restaurants, giving reviews. In fact, getting the owners to directly connect with their customers through a lot of these things. So now they also have started the puneorders.in, which is again an excellent platform where you can actually order food directly from the restaurants without going through a Swiggy or a Zomato. So that is actually a very good thing which has started. And so I've seen this type of things across the country, and that type of forums or this type of passion for food is very limited to a few cities. And I think Pune is at the forefront of it all technically. So as a sort of a community, Pune is quite a sort of unanimously great community in terms of food and food lovers is concerned. And like I said, from where we were and from where we are right now, and it's extremely promising for a person like me who writes about food or talks about food history or takes food walks. For me, it's an exciting journey because every other day there is a new restaurant with a new concept coming on in Pune. And I mean, I know the COVID has actually impacted a lot of restaurants, but I have also seen quite a few restaurants opening after the COVID situation has been after the lockdown as well. So yeah, I think Pune for a lot of restaurant owners, I mean, Pune is sort of that place where there are a lot of people decide to move to Pune to start a restaurant. So because they know that there is a sort of crowd in the city which can appreciate that sort of niche, different type of restaurant. So yeah, I think it's an exciting journey, and I've been doing the food walk since almost 6-7 years now, and they've been extremely great. I mean, more than the food served, I think the camaraderie between people and the vibe between food lovers and like-minded people is extremely something which I look forward to. So that is something which keeps me going in terms of the food history is concerned. Saurabh?
Yes, thank you. I've realized like virtual food walks cannot happen. People are
Yeah.
telling us this is torturous, and we are getting comments like "bhook lagli." So yes, it is something which we can go out once things are back to normal. I think we should have a physical walk with you, and you should take us around all these places. So
Great.
there are some
So some
comments.
people.
Yes, yes, please.
So can I read the comments? I'll just quickly.
I'll read it for you. We have got a
Okay.
list of food items like vada pav was yum, then Piyush from Janaseva,
Oh
Amba
yeah,
Barfi.
yes. Piyush is something which not a lot of people know about. Actually, Piyush is actually watered down. I mean, the easiest thing to talk about Piyush is like a watered down version of a Shrikhanda actually. So that's actually an amazing drink which a lot of people don't know much about, and you don't get it anywhere. Like now, I think there's a place. There used to be a place opposite Bharatnatyam Sabhagruha called Khadadi, and that they used to serve piyush, and probably a few other places. Some places do, but then I think last I found was at Khadadi opposite
Bharatnatyam.
Bharatnatyam Mandir.
Then we have Amba Barfi, Burger King, Marzorin.
So
and
Akshay Bhave says that sadly Bakharwadi zara sad aste aajkal. So you know what? It's very interesting. So a lot of people, even I find that. But so what they have done now is, if you realize, they used to do Bakharwadis fresh in the city, in each of the shops, and they used to pack the Bakharwadis in front of you. So that actually doesn't happen anymore. So there, because they have a factory where the Bakharwadi is made, so all of that comes as pre-packed these days. So that's the reason probably the Bakharwadi is a little harder than more crispier than what it used to be. It used to be a little soft when you used to buy at 10:30 in the morning at the Shanipar or the Deccan shops, you know.
So we have a comment saying Thursday Bakharwadi from Chitale would be the best.
Oh, that's a trade secret I didn't know. I will go now.
Okay, there's one question, like with a lot of cosmopolitan culture coming up in Pune and different sort of food is people we are getting exposed to food around the world. Is our traditional food in danger? Are we losing its charm, demand? And if you could tell us about various traditional thalis of Pune.
Okay, so it's very interesting. Actually, the reason I started the food walks was exactly this, what Madhur is asking actually. The reason I started the food walks was to highlight one, Maharashtrian food, two, Puneri food, and three, the restaurants which serve these foods. You know, so but you know what I've realized is over the years, people do have sort of. I mean, it's up to us, right? I mean, at one point, I really like world food, and if you talk about Japanese food or any other world cuisine, I have equal sort of love for that. But at the same time, I definitely like other place, the original sort of traditional food. It's not in danger technically, but at the same time, more people need to talk about it. Is what I feel. So so a lot of when I started the food walks, what I realized is that so I was not really sure whether how many people will turn up for a food walk like this, and then I realized that even a small, even the old city food walk, we have people who live in Shaniwarpet also coming for that walk. So there is an interest level among a lot of people in terms of Maharashtrian food is concerned or Puneri food is concerned. It's just that people need to talk about it more. Also, what we feel is that because it's our everyday food, we don't give it that much importance in our sort of everyday things also. So more people, like how South Indians will talk about their food very well, in Gujaratis will talk about their local food. So the way I think Maharashtrians need to talk about their own food and not just fight ki Kolhapuri better hai ka Nashik better hai ka Pune better hai.
Misal hai.
हाँ. So, so when I was on the misal slide, also it's the same thing, right? I mean, it's each place has its own influences about that the place. So, misal, if you see, it's not a traditional food, right? It's a food which has been come in as a street food, and then it has taken shape as per each region, right? So there is no होली ग्रेल इन से की अच्छा अशी बनवतात मिसळ की मटकीच पाहिजे असं काही नसतं. मिसळ कुठल्या ठिकाणी कोणी बनवली आहे त्याप्रमाणे त्याचा एक वेगळा रेसिपी असते, त्याला काही स्वतःची रेसिपी नसते. सो instead of doing all of that, I think let's talk about the fact that we have a misal which people are talking about. I mean, now if you see, a lot of people are talking about misal, a lot of people are talking about ukdiche modak, a lot of people are talking about Maharashtrian food in general. So I think we need to sort of, and in Pune, if you see that there are so many of these places, it's just that it needs a little more of presentation in a better way, probably, because more non-Maharashtrians need to eat it.
Any places where people can find traditional thalis?
So if I say Shreyas, because personally I like Shreyas, but then again it's so I don't want to say, because see, Maharashtra again is so different, right? Because I'm not talking about regions, but I'm also talking about communities. So if you go to Asha Dining Hall, the food is different. Though it's a Maharashtrian thali, it is different from, because the Kini family comes from a different region in Maharashtra. So their food is different. So if you go to a place like Badshahi Boarding House, you go to a place like Shreyas, you go to a place like Krishna Dining, all of these people bring in whatever their original family cooks, right? So everywhere the thali is going to be slightly different. So all of these places which I personally really like are, which I just listed. But then you also have non-vegetarian thalis, which is, a lot of people don't talk about, because then there's Maratha Samrat, then there's Surve, Ahilya Devi Thali, and Katras Ghat. All these places are always there, which do a beautiful thalis. Then you have the fish thalis, which so many places. It's very funny that I think Pune has more seafood restaurants than Bombay, which Western Malwani coastal cuisine, basically.
Right. Okay. We are still getting recommendations. Punjabi samosa and gulab jamun at Uttam Sweet Mart in front of Ravivar Pet.
Oh yeah, excellent. That Uttam Sweet Mart is amazing.
That is one. Then we are getting comments like we should not have matched this with a dinner time. I think this has been an appetizer, and I hope you don't end up eating varan bhat only. Okay, there's one question. Any place that has been revived or reinvented traditional recipes so as to make them attractive for today's food lovers?
So like I said, I always believe that for Maharashtrian food to become more popular, it needs to be eaten by people who don't know the food, right? I mean, you have, say for example, it needs to be eaten by non-Maharashtrians so that it reaches out to a lot of other things. So like I just spoke about Pune Guest House. So Pune Guest House, imagine a restaurant serving modak, puranpolia in a very plush mall. It's unheard of, right? So, but Pune Guest House has done that, and then they have something called as the PGH, Pune Guest House Express, at Pavilion Mall, where they serve this thali there during Sankranta. They serve a specific thali. During Nag Panchami they do Puran Poli. So that type of thing. So the traditions which are associated with our food, they are also being sort of by Pune Guest House one, but there are other places also, like a place like Ami Pohekar. They do different variations of pohe. It's a small place. It's not like a sit-down place, but there are different variations of pohe which is there. Then you have, so like that, there are a few restaurants. But I think, like I said, I keep on saying this again and again, that it needs to be marketed to a crowd which will not judge it on the basis की हे आमच्या घरी चांगलं बनतं. You know what I'm saying? So, generally when you have a Maharashtrian food restaurant, people will say की अच्छा याच्यापेक्षा घरीच आपण 80 रुपयाची साबुदाण्याची खिचडी खायची, मग त्याच्यापेक्षा घरीच खायची ना आपण.
True.
But we can spend that 80 rupees on 200 rupees on a samosa in Inox, but you can't spend an 80 rupees at a place like, say, Manohar, which is unfortunately shut down now, in Mahindra Garage, which has come out.
They've restarted it.
So they've redone it, but now they also have other things, but they still have the sanza and misal and thalipit and sabudanachi khichdi as well.
Yes.
So like I said, so I need the Marathi food needs to, or Puneri food needs to go to places which don't really, so non-Maharashtrians basically.
Right. So we have few more things coming in. Hindustan's patties, Santosh's patties, Pudachi Vadi.
So patties is something which I have not spoken about, because patties is another sort of, it's very funny that how I don't know how the word patties came to be. Patties means Patties, patty. So plural patties, right? Which is like a patty, which is like a tikki. And what we eat as patties is basically a puff.
Yes.
But apan त्याचं spelling PATTICE करतो. So yeah, so you've got Santosh. Santosh is another beautiful example of being in the business for so long and maintained their quality. I personally like Santosh patties. They're a little spicy, but yeah, Hindustan is one. There's Pune Bakery is also great. So, but yeah, if I would ask somebody to get patties for me, I'll get them from Santosh.
आळूची पातळ भाजी कुठे छान मिळेल?
Oh, so it's very interesting. So aluchi patal bhaji generally you'll get it in thali. Shreyas does a decent play. Then Krishna Dining also has. But aluchi patal bhaji is not on the menu for a lot of restaurants. If there's a thali restaurant, you'll have that. During the lockdown, I think Shreyas had started a combo of aluchi patal bhaji and masale bhat, which was available in... So without sounding a little more, I don't want to plug my mother's business, but we do a thali which we deliver.
I was going to ask you about it. Can you just tell us about Pangat?
Yes, I don't want to shamelessly plug my business, but yeah, I mean, it's the whole point of that starting Pangat was to do food which obviously there are a lot of thali places in the city, but people don't know about a lot of things. So that's how me and my mother cooks everything, and we deliver it on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We have Friday, we do a Gauran thali, Saturday we do a Puran Poli Mejwani thali, and Sunday we do a Modak Mejwani thali, and we deliver with a banana leaf actually. So, and then there's also a small card which goes along with the parcel, which talks about how to lay the taat. We give them the banana leaf and what goes where. So basically shastra asतं te, त्यामुळे so basically what goes where, left side la काय, right side la काय, why it's there. So we give a small card as well along with it, and then urge people to eat it on the banana leaf. In fact, people don't know that in Maharashtrian thalis we put the banana leaves vertically, not horizontally like South Indians.
Great. So I think the list will keep on going on. We'll get to know a lot of new places eventually.
So Pudachi Vadi, somebody saying Pudachi Vadi. Yeah, I mean another place. Another place which I think I sort of not recently discovered, but it's always been on. So we used to always eat there. But I think during my heritage walks next to Kasba Ganpati, there's a place called Paras Khaja, and so this Paras Khaja is actually Khaja is a Marwari shop, and he does an extremely delicious sambar vadi or pudachi vadi, and he also does suralichi vadi, dokla, and all of that, and also does it looks like a chirota and a kachori, but it's actually the khaja. So that khaja is also something which is popular as Paras Khaja only. So if you see that, old time Punekars will actually understand where that khaja is coming from.
Great. So I'll not end up with saying a formal thanks, because the thanks would happen after we visit all these places with you. So
Yes.
part 2 of this walk is going to happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with this, I'll formally say thank you, Jayesh, for
Thank you so
taking
much.
us through this culture of Pune and torturing us a bit, I'll say, because we all are hungry now.
Yeah,
Few things, if you have liked our walk, just put a thumbs up in the chat box so that we'll get encouraged. If you have any comments, suggestions which would help us improve, or any topics which you would like us to include on our walks, that will also help us know. So just type them in the chat box. I've put up a WhatsApp number here. So we are on WhatsApp as Intact Pune. So just say hi and we'll get back to you. And definitely you can get connected with us, be in our WhatsApp group, and have regular updates. Before we end, I would once again talk about the Intact Pune, Discover Pune thing, which is happening. So join us for this, and there's a deadline. If you see, give me a moment, I'll share the deadline with you. So with this we can end our walk. So Discover Pune is happening, the hunt begins, and very few days, 11 days remaining. So you can just register, form a team of 3 or 4 people, where a nominal entry fees of 700 rupees per team, and a lot of cash prizes to win. So this is a timeline: 7 February you register, 5th March the registration ends, and if things are back normal, we have the Discover Pune happening on 12th of March. So that's all about it for the day. आता ताटा घ्यायला बसा सगळे.
Somebody also mentioned that they did a food hunt, which in fact Intact and I did it with Madhur. So we should do that again as well.
Definitely. Yes.
Great.
So, thank you, Jayesh, once again.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We can end this walk?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.